Hello everybody and welcome back to another Goodwood Rodent Racing podcast, and here we are at the 74th members meeting on a chilly, cloudy day, but hey, we've seen some great racing so far and plenty more to come, and I have a table of champions. They are all champion touring car drivers. Robb Huff, a world touring car champion no less. Gordon Sheddon, the reigning British touring car champion. And Andrew Jordan, 2013's champion. And we might even have the 1990 champion here, Rob Gravett, although there's no sign of him yet. And joining us will be Alan Hyde, who for the last 18 years has been the pit lane reporter for the British Touring Car Championship. He doesn't look a day over 60, actually. Anyway, so good. And of course, all these guys are racing here at the 74th members meeting in, you've guessed it, touring cars. So Rob, tell us, what are you in? How's it going?
I've got an array of cars this weekend. So 3 races and 2 demonstrations. The first one being the Jerry Marshall race in the Capri. But we had a bit of a disastrous day yesterday, if I'm honest. Obviously with the historic cars, they're being old and quite normally unreliable. We had a bad day yesterday, so we've unfortunately melted the engine in the Capri.
Oh, I saw that this morning, actually.
Yeah, which was a real shame because last year we were the quickest Capri. I think we qualified 4th overall. We had quite a good qualifying yesterday, qualified 5th. But at the end of qualifying, we knew we had a problem, and unfortunately that was the end of the weekend where the Capri was concerned, which is a shame because that's probably one of the best races to be involved in.
Good news for you guys there, isn't it?
Yeah, one less.
You will need to use a microphone, by the way.
just
my
shout.
first ever interview.
At least it matches your blazer.
Thanks, Ray. I like that. Gonna check, it matches your hat, actually.
So Andrew, tell us, what's your weekend? How's it going?
Yeah, a bit like Rob. I didn't have a great day yesterday. Racing in the Alaman Trophy, racing the GT40 with my dad, which was going really well. We were leading with about 10 minutes to go, pulling away, being nice and steady with the traffic and being careful, and had either a wheel bearing or a hub fail on the left rear of the car. So looking on the bright side, that could have been a lot worse around here in that sort of car. So very disappointing because it would have been a fantastic race to win. Yeah. And sharing with Nick Swift in his 1275 GT, which is always good man. Fun. Yeah, it's always good. I enjoy watching Nick. I was watching him yesterday on the onboard cameras, and he normally looks really cheerful and like he was enjoying the racing. And yesterday, if you're any good at lip reading, I don't think he was enjoying it too much because he was stuck behind one of the big Rovers, which is obviously really quick in a straight line, not too quick through, or not as quick as the Mini through the corners. So
yes, the language wasn't family show language, was it? Really?
I wouldn't think so. No, I think I could read what he was saying.
It was getting a lot of cheers though. I was in the governor's room just around the corner here. Yeah, and it's brilliant. Swifty in that Mini always gets cheered. It was so good, especially the last lap because I think he was having it with the Mazda and the Rover, and they both went past him on the last straight coming up to the last corner, and he whipped around the outside of both of them before the chicane, and the grandstand just goes, it was brilliant.
He is great to watch because he's so animated in the car, but the Mini I think is a bit of a fan favourite because it takes it to the bigger cars, although we're struggling a bit more than we did last year up against them, but it's great fun and a really good car to drive. It's like a big go-kart really.
Mr. Sheddon, have you had any better luck than these guys?
Yes, to a certain extent. I've got a Rover SD1 for the Jerry Marshall race, which is great. Yeah. And Chris Ward, my co-driver, he won yesterday's race, so we'll start from pole today. Yeah. And it's I hadn't seen the car before yesterday in qualifying, let alone sit in it, and I opened the door and it's got brown velour interior, and I thought, I didn't know brown velour interior still existed. I thought it's taking it back to Alan Hyde's era, isn't it, about that kind of thing? So, but actually it goes well. It's surprising how well it goes. I don't think we can match the big Camaros for outright pace.
No, not
but
sure.
If they manage to break down, then I'd hope that we'll
it's
be.
It's frustrating, isn't it? They get away on the straight, don't they?
Try being in a Mini.
Yeah. I mean, the speed that they've got is incredible. It's but it's actually funny because they pull away so much on the straights and then brake about 100 metres earlier than we need to. So it's a little bit give and take, but they're great. They sound great. All the open exhausts this weekend is is a fan favourite, and it's just you do. I've always said with the historic racing, I actually drive with a big smile on my face, which is so opposite to the day job. But you can actually have some fun and enjoy what's going on. So yeah, it's great.
Alan, how have you coped with all these guys for 18 years?
As you can tell, they're not difficult to talk to. They love what they do, and they're very happy to talk. And one of the big things about the BTCC, and Rob, although he's in World Touring Cars now, started in the BTCC, one of the things that Alan Gow is really big on is the fact that it's a show. And talking to media, talking to newspapers, magazines, television, radio, it's as big a part of the show as getting out in the car and doing it. I'm sure they're all quite happy to get into the car and actually do the driving because you're away from it, but it's part of your everyday job, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great, and I think touring car racing the world over is very inclusive. When to go to a Formula One race, you need your triple gold, platinum, whatever card to even be allowed to buy a burger, let alone get close to the cars. And I think touring car racing is the polar opposite from that. You can get close to the teams, close to the drivers, and I think that's why it has the support that it does. So.
It's also the great thing about Goodwood, isn't it? Is the accessibility. I mean, you've only got to look out there to see these people just love it, don't they?
That's why you get 25,000 people here today. It's so I think it's pretty much the same with BTC. You're one ticket. There is only one ticket you can buy. It's certainly the way in World Touring Cars, and that one ticket gets you anywhere other than literally sat in the car in the garage. And that's what people love. They love to get close to the action. They can stand it. I mean, these cars are just phenomenal, and as Gordon said, to have the open exhaust on them, to get that close to them with the smell and the noise and everything. I mean, you go home stinking at the end of the day, but it's a great smell that you want to hold on to for quite a while.
I think that's the way it should be though in motorsport, is you should be able to, if you pay your money and you get your ticket, you should be able to go wherever you want, obviously within reason. But I think, as a motorsport fan, we're all fans of motorsport. That's how I'd want to go and want to go and feel everything and really be part of it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we've been at an F1 at Silverstone together. We're both BRDC members. I'm a Gold Star winner, Gordon's a Silver Star winner. I'm pretty sure we were kicked out of the pits together one year because we didn't have the right passes to get in there, and even we can't get in there. So it's I don't think I've been since, to be fair. But that's what I love about this sort of racing, is you can get everywhere.
You will have noticed that Mr. Robb Gravett has arrived.
Hello.
He's obviously done rather a slow warm-up lap, actually.
I did a very slow warm-up lap this morning, yeah.
He's finally here. Welcome. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting, just coming in on the back of that, I think the whole thing is all about the public. It's not necessarily about us, because it is a show, isn't it? And if you look at touring cars per se, you can get access, or the public can get access to the drivers and to see the cars and all that sort of thing. And we should never forget, you take those people away and actually we have nothing.
Especially us four around this table, because we've all made a living out of touring cars.
Correct,
and without the fans buying the road cars, we wouldn't have the opportunities that we've ever had. So, even more so for us.
I think it's like a big circle, isn't it? Because, as you say about the road cars from a manufacturer point of view, but also from a sponsor point of view, if you don't have the people there either buying the merchandise or don't have the people there watching it at home on the TV, being fans of the championship, you don't get the big viewing figures, which then get the sponsors involved. So it's all a big circle.
Is that just a plug for the new Andy Jordan range of blazers that you're going to start sending this year?
I can do you a special one. I'll sign you one if you want.
Where can we buy them?
Going on sale next Monday.
In all good retailers.
Suits you, Andy. Suits you.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Okay. One thing that really interests me is when you come here to Goodwood to do this fantastic historic racing, the cars are sideways, they're pretty loose, they make a great noise. In your day job, it's front-wheel drive. The cars are much neater. They're totally different to drive, I imagine. I mean, it must be like a different world, isn't it? So when you come here, is it kind of a bit of a release to get back in something that...
It's different but very similar, because on the day job with the touring car, it is absolutely on the edge to drive it quick. Sometimes from the outside it looks it's a little bit like the kind of swan syndrome, isn't it? Everything looks calm and placid from the outside and paddling like anything underneath, and that's what it's like to drive the touring car. It's just a lot more visible from the outside with the historic cars, because the tyres are so bad. So you actually see the driver working, and it's one of these things. And I don't know how you change it in car racing, but on a motorbike, you watch the incredible stuff that the guys are doing in MotoGP and in the Isle of Man or whatever, Superbike. But it's because the public can see the input that the rider has, and I think probably more so than anything else, historic racing allows the driver to have that input. You can overcome so many problems in a historic car by driving it properly, whereas in the day job, if the car isn't perfect, you're not going to be winning. It's quite simple.
It's quite interesting, actually, when we came out of rear-wheel drive with the big RS 500s and then went to front-wheel drive. I hated front-wheel drive. But actually, I think the guys will probably concur, the front-wheel drives now are very close feel to a rear-wheel drive, aren't they?
Really?
They're not that much different now.
You won your championship with an RS 500.
RS 500, yeah.
So you were in favour of that?
Well, because that was like lighting blue touch paper, and as you came out the corners, left two black lines down the road. That was seems to me to be pretty good, actually.
But I think I'm right in saying you were the same as me. You started in MGs, didn't you?
Yeah.
In the historic stuff. So both Robbs have come from historics, got into Pro Touring cars, and then ended up coming back again.
Yeah, exactly.
And Robb was still racing his MG when he was a World Touring car driver.
I'm trying to buy it at the moment, actually.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm trying to get hold of it at the moment, because it was my first ever race car.
Yeah.
And John Wilshire, who owns it, has suggested that he might want to part ways with it now. And I'm trying desperately to get my hands back on it to put it in the garage and keep hold of it.
Well, I was going to say, would you put it in a garage and keep hold of it, or would you take it out
during the week? Yeah.
Yeah.
It would definitely come out a bit more often if I do it. Yeah, for sure.
That's the boy coming out in him again, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We never grow up, actually.
No, exactly.
If the truth be known, we just don't ever grow up.
Well, that's the thing about Goodwood. Everyone, no one's being paid loads of money to be here or anything. We're here because of the love of the sport, and these historic cars are so much fun to drive. They really are. They're moving around, as Gordon says. There's so much driver input. I think physically they're probably harder to drive than a current touring car, if I'm honest, because you have to have your wits about you, and you're always sliding, and it's predicting the slide. They're just so much fun.
And this year for touring car drivers, I think with Goodwood is quite good, isn't it, for the BTCC, because the Festival of Speed and the Revival is not a BTCC weekend.
Yeah, it's a non-clash.
So you can come along and play this year, both meetings. Is it the same for World Touring cars?
Yeah.
You can't wear that jacket at the Festival of Speed.
Can I not? I was planning on.
He's going to wear that jacket for BTC now as well. That's going to be the new Pertec colours.
He'd actually be thrown out if he wore that jacket.
Surprised we've allowed him in the room, to be honest with you.
Moving on.
I think we should talk about Goodwood as well. I mean, the attention to detail that Goodwood, that Charles puts into this event is phenomenal. And I mean, we've all raced around the world. There's probably very few circuits. I've not done the States, actually, but every other country I've been to, the same as most of us here. But actually, the attention to detail is so great, and the attraction to the driver to be invited, if you like, to drive at Goodwood. All of us, I think the answer is always yes, isn't it? Yeah, I want to be there.
There's a long waiting list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we all behave all the time whilst we're here.
I know you're gonna tell me I'm wrong here, but in touring car racing, there's quite a lot of contact. Whereas here,
I noticed how that's directed at you, Andy.
Why would it be that, mate? I think a few years ago I would have agreed with you, yes. I think they've clamped down on it a fair amount now. I think it's when you're racing it with the front guys, it's hard racing, but it's 9 times out of 10 it's fair racing. So you might come in with a slight rub here and there, and that is touring cars. I think there's a very fine line of it being good, hard touring car racing, because that's what people pay to see. Because otherwise it just ends up as GT racing in touring cars, really, within reason. So I think it's a very fine line. But you can't. A few years ago, to me, it was getting silly. It was just stupid moves, and it wasn't racing. Now the good guys in touring cars you might have a rub with, but it's very subtle and it's not a big whack in the back, and sometimes it is.
And I think it is a big part of touring car racing. I would be delighted to come in after every race with no wing mirrors. What I don't want is to be assassinated from 100 metres back and left in the gravel.
A name and shame?
Yeah, come on.
Is he around this table?
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
Seems like you're bitter about it. It's holding a grudge.
You're doing a tug of war later, aren't you? So,
Yeah, we're on the same team for that one, so it's all right.
But I think, I think it's as Gordon says, if you can come in and have had good, and it is when you're with the good guys. I've had great races with Gordon, Matt, Jason, Colin, and it's good, hard racing. And you think they gave me just enough room, and I think that's the important thing. You've got to give everyone a bit of respect and just enough room. But when it goes the other way and there's not enough racing room, then it can get a little bit messy at times. But I think that's what touring cars is. It's good, hard, but fair racing.
I think you're right, Gordon, though. I think, coming back to this crowd thing, pleasing the people who pay to watch. I mean, they love it, don't they? They love a bit of...
To a point, sorry to jump, I think to a point, because sometimes you hear the crowd saying, well, this is silly, it's like bumper cars, that's too much.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, I think it should be close racing. Nothing wrong with a bit of paint. I mean, I used to use the barriers sometimes to straighten the car out, coming out the corners. The team used to get really grumpy with me, but that's what you needed.
Rob.
Rob does it all the time. But
Because the reason I brought it up, actually, was because here, it's very... Goodwood tries to be incredibly strict about this kind of thing, because here... There are runoffs. The only problem is you speed up on them, don't you? Because they're grass, and it's very quick out at the back of this circuit.
Well, I think the value of the cars that we're driving as well puts a slightly different slant on it. In the touring cars, you sort of don't worry about taking a wing mirror off or bending the front bumper or something small. But ultimately, with these cars, I think I'm right in saying none of us own the cars. And some of the cars we're driving are worth phenomenal amounts of money, and astronomical to the point you wouldn't even believe what they're worth.
And it's a safety thing as well.
Yeah.
The modern car is so safe. Yeah. But you're going back in time to cars that are 30, 40, 50 years old
With your brown velour interior.
Yeah, and it's trust me, I've already had some moments where it's not just been the interior which is kind of brown, and no, I mean you have an element of self-preservation.
Yeah, but like yesterday, in the GT40s, both of us had the same problem with brakes effectively, and when you're coming down the back straight at 160 miles an hour in a 40-year-old, 50-year-old GT40, which is worth a lot of money, you don't want to take any risks. So you start braking a bit earlier every lap, and then you get to the point when you're braking at 300 metres and nothing's happening. That's the time to come into the pits and park the car up and tell the owner he definitely doesn't want to get in it, because it won't come back in quite the same form. So there is that element of self-preservation in these.
I think that it's such a privilege. Well, isn't it to drive a Ford GT40? I mean, God, I'd love to drive it.
It is pretty cool.
We don't know how lucky we are, I think.
I think you can sometimes kind of overlook that. We're on a grid with I think just under 30 GT40s racing into the dusk around here. Sometimes I think you need to... I think it's easy in life, in racing, to always be looking on to the next thing, But actually to stand back and look at what we were racing yesterday, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some amazing cars. I mean, I didn't do the GT40 race yesterday, but obviously did the TT here at the Revival last year. And I think somebody said that one race is the most expensive grid of cars in the world, including Formula One.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that kind of puts it in perspective as to the value of the cumulative cars that are there, and irreplaceable. If all those cars end up in the barriers, you can't just go and build new ones.
No. Yeah, yesterday I was looking, there's a load of Porsche 917s lined up ready to go out, and I was just looking around them, and I think they're worth huge money. Yep. But just to be able to go and look at, they're one of my favourite cars, but you look at them and think they really earned their money racing those around Le Mans.
The amazing thing is that Lord March attracts them here.
Yeah.
Everyone's here from far and wide off their own backs.
Yeah, and cars from all over the world
come here, and everyone wants to be here, and that's the thing that I think perhaps modern motorsport is missing a bit of something, is the fact that Lord March manages to create that environment where everyone is queuing up. I mean, 2 months ago they sold out
Yes.
the entry tickets to come. They're going for crazy money on eBay all week. And that just doesn't
Did you
happen.
get the money?
I noticed you got your jacket from there.
How do you think I afforded it?
Get that with your tickets.
I sincerely hope we're not going to see that jacket on eBay, Mr. Jordan.
This will be in my wardrobe.
It's a very valid point. You're back to the public again, aren't you? Because what he's done very cleverly is he's made it a destination for the family. You know, quite often in motorsport, you might get your lady there once. That's why they always used to call it the pits. If you get her there the second time, you've done really well. Very unlikely to get her there the third time, if you like. It's all right for us because we all had the motorhomes and all that sort of thing. But you understand what I mean. But you've got families out here. I mean, how many people did they get for the revival? It's about
120,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more than the Grand Prix, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's about the same. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressive, really,
4
isn't it?
degrees outside today.
Yeah.
It's
But
not
I
exactly
think
that.
And everybody dresses up and makes an
it's
effort.
not just a race weekend, is
Yeah,
it?
it's
It's an event.
fantastic,
It's
yeah.
a big event. There's a
Yeah.
lot more going on to it, and I think that's a good part of it as well. It isn't. You're not just going to watch some racing, which, as we said, there's lots of fantastic cars racing. There's so much more going on, and it's a real event and family atmosphere.
Let's take a little look ahead to the 2016 touring car season, and the best place to start is with the reigning champion, isn't it?
Obviously.
And maybe all of you would like to join in, including Alan Hyde, who's going to be talking about it all. I mean, first of all, it's fantastically competitive, isn't it? This is one of the great things about it.
It is, and it's. I think it's a lot more competitive than sometimes people give us credit for from the outside. I think to a certain extent, people see Formula One drivers as the best drivers in the world. Then you've got GT drivers, and sometimes touring car drivers are a little bit thought of as second class citizens. We're the thugs that hit everybody and all the stories that go. But actually, when you get the opportunity to drive in this environment, in the historic stuff, generally, regardless of what car it is, it's the touring car drivers that are
They're right up there,
that are at the front and are very often more sympathetic on the cars than many others. So it's phenomenally competitive. I think I would challenge anybody from any other formula to go to World Touring Car or British Touring Car. And be competitive straight away. I just don't see it happening. There is a skill to drive them, and and like anything, to win, to be at the front, it's on the edge. You're not hanging about.
I think Gordon's made a very valid point there. If you remember some years ago when Nigel Mansell came back in, he ran in the Ford and he really struggled to get on the pace. And Nigel can drive anything.
Yeah.
But he spent a long time trying to get on the pace and still punched it into the
You got pushed
into
around
the bridge.
a bit too,
But anyway, but no, they went. There were Formula One drivers and touring car drivers moving from different formulas in the same year. And not to decry what the Formula One drivers do, and I'm endorsing what Gordon said. When they came back into touring cars, you do really need to know what's going on underneath you. Mm-hmm. And someone like Adrian Newey will say it's 90% aerodynamics, 10% chassis, whereas in a touring car, it's virtually around the other way, isn't it?
Yeah, and we've had the same in the last couple of years with World Touring Cars. We've had some of the best LMP drivers come in, the best GT drivers, and the first 3 or 4 events, they really struggle just to get their head around the car. I mean, on a one-off lap, they're as quick as anyone, but to look, sort of find out how the tyres behave over a 10 or 15 lap race, they really struggle to start with because they just effectively overdrive the car. I think that's the biggest secret of touring cars, is just not to overdrive the car, and the problem is they're too easy to overdrive, and that's what most people struggle with.
You're being strangely quiet about the
I
prospects.
think that's a good point. I think there's in British there's some you can get people that will put a quick lap in or get a good result, but I think the biggest thing is the experience of being there every weekend, of scoring points the whole time. It's 30 race championship. You're gonna have a bit of bad luck through the season, everyone will, but it's on your bad weekend, I think, just plugging away, being there all the time, and I think that comes with experience. And as Rob said, you can have people come in, it will be quick because it's a car at the end of the day. Most drivers, or most good drivers, should be able to bang in a good lap time, but it's doing that every weekend and scoring well on your bad weekends, which I think then puts you in title contention at the end of the year, is how well you've done on your bad weekend. And I think that really comes with learning the championship, knowing when to push, knowing when to settle for a 6th, and
Sure.
who wants to really finish 6th. But if that's all the car will do on that day, well, that's what you take and you bag the points. So I think that just comes with learning the championships.
The interesting thing, Rob, is that Andrew and Gordon are sitting side by side, and they both talk about consistently getting points through the season to win a championship. But they both had to win their titles. Well, the second title for Gordon and the first title for Andrew. All down to the last round of the championship year on the Brands Grand Prix circuit, scything your way through the field. Both of you had to do the same.
And Rob did as well at Macau.
And Rob had to do it at Macau. Yeah, you're right.
There's
you're
a
right.
track, hey?
Yeah.
Macau.
Yeah, that's not the best track in the world to have to.
It's the best
to
track
do that
in the world.
I mean,
for
it
you,
is
though.
for me. Yeah, it's a good track for me, but it's not one you want to rely on to be able to try and get your way through the traffic. It's It's
But I think, and if you look back through history, for as far back as you can go 20, 30 years back, and nobody wins a top line touring car championship in their first year. Does anyone win it in the second year? No. Third year? No. Generally, the people that are winning, okay, a lot of people win races, but the people that are winning championships have been in it for, 5, 6 years plus. And with World or British, just go back and you keep on. The trend is the same.
Yeah.
You've almost got to earn your spurs.
But it's great as well, isn't it? Because it gives longevity to a career. Your teammate Matt Neal's still doing it, 3 times a champion. Jason Plato's still up there. The names are still there. So if you can break in as a youngster, as Andrew and yourself have done, then brilliant. You've got a career for a long time. There was talk, wasn't there, Rob, about Rob Gravett returning to the current BTCC a few years ago?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, and then again a little bit last year, and that was quite serious actually.
Yeah.
And I all of a sudden thought, well, actually, I think I want to do this again. I actually do want to go back. It's quite lucky because I still keep my hand in driving. I have a company that we teach stuff and all the rest of it. So I quite like the idea of going back and seeing how I got on with these guys.
Have you driven one of the new type of cars?
No. However, I sort of think a car's a car. If you can drive a car with experience, you can get into a car, and generally, with a bit of time behind you, you should be able to make the car go fairly quickly. And listening to Rob saying what he was saying there, you do need some time in any car that you drive. I've always said, in theory, you should be able to get into any car, anywhere in the world, and within 6 laps, maximum puller time. 6. That's what I think, because it's just a car, 4 wheels and a steering wheel. Whether you can... you've got the tyres to think about as time goes on. But that's just a little bit more time. But you should be able to pull a time that quick. As a professional driver, you should be able to do that.
I can't believe we've been here half an hour already. It's amazing. Yeah. Just before we finish, because I know you guys have all got lots to do.
Tug of war.
Well, there's the tug of war.
the most important match of the weekend coming up.
He's got demon shoes and everything.
Yeah. I'm not wearing them yet. They're a surprise.
I did see the list of names.
I've got the special pair in the lockers yet. Don't worry about that. I remembered this game from last year.
I think we're slightly outnumbered though. Someone sent me the list of names, and the old timers, as they call them, I think they've got about 4 people
old school
more than
BTC versus new touring car drivers.
Not that I'm getting the excuse book out already. I'm just saying.
Have you noticed I think there's 9 against 6, but then we get a special guest. And so I said to Michelle, I hope that special guest is like a GT40 or something to anchor our sides. Because the old boy, Rob aside, most of the old boys are a little bit heavier than they were. Rob's just grown a beard to get back in with the kids again. Yeah. But the older boys do have a bit more weight on their side, should we say?
Perhaps we should explain that at the Goodwood's members meeting, we have lots of sporting activities going on apart from the motor racing. That's why we're talking about a tug of war. We haven't all gone mad.
I don't know. It's a new feature of BTC that Gal's come up with for the year.
It would be a good feature as well.
So anyway,
don't give him ideas.
You'd love it.
In a couple of hours' time, you're in with a great shot of winning the Jerry Marshall Trophy.
Yeah, but I think very much to finish first you've got to finish in this game. And we did a gearbox yesterday, or Chris did a gearbox yesterday, so it's fragile. I think it'll be a great race. I think it'll be spectacular. I think it'll be one of the highlights of the weekend for everyone that's here to watch. And I think there'll be some great racing all the way through the field. Hopefully we're up the sharp end and putting on a bit of a show.
And sadly you're...
No, I've got the Mini later on today. I've got the Mini at 5 o'clock today. We're starting, I think, 9th overall and third mini. But yeah, we've got to try and get on top of pesky Swifty.
Good luck.
We've beaten him once before at Silverstone, but not at Goodwood. So obviously ours is a non-Swift mini, but the idea is to try and get on the back of him. But I think that's going to be a good race later on.
Rob, what's your afternoon got in store today?
Well, I'm in a Dolomite sprint, driving for Bonham's Robert Brooks's car. Last year we managed to do half a lap, so we're a little bit ahead of that now. We're starting 15th at the moment. There was a slight problem apparently with the car yesterday. So if we can get top 10, I think...
Same as the minis, it's the last 5 o'clock this afternoon.
No, we're 2:15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I expect you to be on the pit wall waving and stuff like that. Yeah.
You know, and that race later on this afternoon is going to be a cracker as well. You know, I mean, Steve Soper out in the in the Cortina. I think there'll be.
So do you recognise that Cortina? Don't you?
It's a familiar car, that one. Yeah, I think.
Actually, I spoke to him yesterday.
I think it's one of the few cars that's changed hands, and everyone cheered for some strange reason.
I was speaking to Steve yesterday about that car, and what he's done is he said, "I'm not going to change it because all I do is make it go slower." So he's leaving all your settings on there, but that's all right.
It's like Gordon took them all off before he left the car.
Yeah.
Andrew, good, exciting afternoon ahead apart from being house captain.
Yeah, just the mini, and I'm praying for rain, because I think if it rained, we'd stand a real good chance in it. But it rained when I left where I was staying this morning, but I don't think it will. So I'll have some good fun in it.
All three of you are in the Jerry Marshall.
Yeah,
that's going to be exciting.
Frightening, really. Isn't it?
What could possibly go wrong?
I'm almost, I wouldn't say I'm happy about not being that the Capri broke, but I'm quite intrigued to watch this race this afternoon.
Aren't we all? Okay, well, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks
pretty
very much.
remarkable. 4 champions around the table. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much for coming. Thank you, Alan Hyde, who, Alan, of course, will be following the championship throughout the whole of the year from the pit lane for the 18th year running. 19th year running. Extraordinary. Okay. We'll be back very soon with another Goodwood Road and Racing podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next one, and I hope you'll be with us too. Bye-bye.